Yeah, and I think that's what kind of held the U.S. men's national team together as well as his leadership. Another player who's doing well in the championship, American Austin Trusty for Birmingham City, seems to be scoring goals and doing very well. A lot of people don't know much about him though. How has his rise come about here, and all of a sudden he's now being talked about again?
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, an athletic left-footed center back like that is always gonna, gain a lot of attention. He was a tough one to read when he was playing here in the United States. Um, I took he partnered with Mark McKenzie, who's now at Genk, who's in first in Belgium. Um, him and Trusty were the two local homegrown center back tandems. And but Philly eventually passed on Trusty. He was starting there, and then they traded him to Colorado. And he did really well in 2021. He helped Colorado exceed expectations. It When he arrived there, he didn't immediately start. It was a struggle from the start. And then when he started, he did do very well. And then at the beginning of this season, even though they knew he was going to be moving to Arsenal and there would be almost certainly a subsequent loan, his struck form really wasn't good at all to start this year in 2022 when he was when he was based domestically. So now all of a sudden you're looking at a guy who's like, Philadelphia Union pass on you. Like they work so well with young players. Like they're very good in terms of their academy. They ship him to Colorado and he does well. His success has really been mixed. I mean, there's no other way to say it. But you've always seen like some raw potential in his athleticism, and I think he's the championship where it becomes a lot of athletic. It becomes a test of athleticism, and especially with their formation with Birmingham City, they play three in the back with wing backs. So their center backs and those fullbacks are pushed way up the field. So you need those really mobile center backs, and so you got one with him, who's athletic and he can pass well with his left foot. Um, how much higher can he climb? I'm still not sure yet because I haven't seen him play like 2 good years in a row. I've
Yeah.
seen him play very well at some high moments. But look, they love him in Birmingham City. They love him off the field. They love him in the locker room. The fans love him. They love him in the community. I mean, I don't know what Arsenal's asking price is, and I don't know what Birmingham City's budget is. And I understand it's not that great, but I do kind of think that maybe the best thing for him would be uh, seeing if Birmingham City would be willing to, and Arsenal would be willing to come to some kind of a deal because there's no guarantee it's going to get any better than this, or maybe he's in the best spot to show what he needs to do and show multiple years of playing well. You don't want sometimes you don't want to mess with happiness and you don't want to mess with a good thing. And he's got a good thing going at Birmingham City. They really do like him there. So I don't know. If it's not Birmingham City, I don't think he's going back to I don't think he's ready for the Premier League yet. So then maybe it's like, do you ship him to a more top tier championship team? But then who knows what if there's any spots open for him there. I mean, I don't see Birmingham City contending for promotion anytime soon.
No.
So I don't know. Like I just think he's in a good spot. It's gonna stink to see him move on for his own development.
Well, we'll see what happens this summer with him. Another young player, we'll jump to the Bundesliga, Kevin Paredes, only 19 years old, playing for Wolfsburg. Mostly being used as a substitute, but what's his ceiling? How high do you think he can go?
I always liked him. I mean, I'm happy that they're using him as like a straight up winger. I watched, look, his numbers are great, as a per minute basis, but he's still short of 400 minutes this season.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of a grain of salt, but obviously they like him. They bring him into important moments of games when they need goals. They brought him in the game over the weekend. Was against Werder Bremen,
That or
or
Augsburg, can't remember.
Augsburg. Yeah, so they were down 2-0, and he came in then. And they equalize. They pull him back, and then they equalize with him assisting on that equalizing goal. And he what I like about him, he's just frantic. He's relentless.
Yeah.
He's not just a guy who just gets the ball and just tries to dribble through people. What I like about him is he works hard defensively. He goes in with his duels. He comes out on top. He
Mm.
wins them. And you know, and I think that that's a very good thing. I'm looking forward. I know the U.S. national team's thinking of him, and I really hope Wolfsburg releases him to play in the under 20 World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
He just concluded a very good camp with the US U20 team. I got to speak with him for a while for a feature at the U20 camp that was in Marbella, and um, he scored a great goal against England's U20 team. But yeah, he's very athletic, very quick, very fat, very but very eager. He's a positive kid too. There's nothing dour about him. He's a good person. I liked him when he was with DC. I liked him now. Like him with the 20s. I'm bullish on Paredes and his future, but now there is a bit of a jump being able to come in, run at tired defenders,
Yeah.
being an offensive sub to being a starter, where it becomes more of a marathon, not a sprint.
Yep.
He has to learn that. He was good with DC United with that. That's now over a year and a half removed from those kind of days as a starter, so he's not in that rhythm. He's going to have to try to get that back at the level of the Bundesliga, but we'll see. I like him, and I hope he plays at this U20 World Cup, because then you can kind of see his ceiling and see where he is against his peers, because I think he'd impress more people there than I think having like a gut role where he's like Christian Pulisic's backup on the national team for a summer tournament against CONCACAF teams. I think starting with the U20 World Cup would be the best thing for him, and I hope Wolfsburg sees it that way too.
Well, hopefully. Speaking of Augsburg, who Paredes just played against this past weekend, obviously they took Ricardo Pepi last year in a pretty big transfer, and then quickly sent him out on loan, realizing he wasn't maybe fit for the Bundesliga. So now he's at FC Groningen, and he's actually doing well. I believe he has 10 goals now in the Eredivisie for Groningen. There are now rumors circulating, whether they're just clickbait or whatever, that there could be some Premiership teams in for Pepi, and he did come into the camp a couple of weeks ago with the U.S. men's national team and played well, scored. What are your thoughts on Pepi?
I think Pepe is probably not going to go to the Premier League. I think and he's not going to go back to Augsburg. I know Fabrizio Romano reported it, but that's also what I'm hearing too.
Hmm.
My best bet is that the next thing for him would not to be to stay within the Eredivisie or move it to a higher level team there or in Belgium
Hmm.
and work his way up. I mean, he's still just turned 20 years old as a center forward. And you see him and he's still filling out. Like, he's got the skill. I always liked him because look, scoring 10 goals for Groningen this year, and Groningen is terrible. Like like it's not a happy place. I think they're 5 points deep in the relegation hole. They're going down. They've had 2 or 3 matches suspended because of fan behavior. I mean, it's just one of these things where you have to learn a little bit about professionalism and just put your head down, block out all these distractions, and just score goals. And you're not going to have a lot of opportunities to score goals because your team is out talented and by everybody else there in that league. So when you start hitting double digits in a dour environment and on a bad team, it reflects well on you, as a center forward, just to kind of find ways to get it done. And he scores goals in different ways. He scores in headers, scores, he can hit from outside the box, inside the box, he makes good runs. I think he's going to end up at a bigger Eredivisie team. Maybe a Premier League team signs him and puts him on loan there. I don't discount that, but I think that most of these teams are going to know, okay, we know he can perform in the Eredivisie. Now let's get him a little bit more service. Let's get him a little more thing, and let's get him a little bit, better players around him and a more positive environment. Then I think you're going to see some place that Pepe can shine. I've always thought he was a good player. I always thought the great for the Bundesliga was, especially for a lower tier team in the Bundesliga that's outclassed, they come up on the short end of the stick talent wise. That was always a stretch, but the money spoke. So I think he's in a good spot, and but I think we're looking at, if it's not in the Eredivisie, it'd probably be like a Club Bruges or something like that, and then from there, if he does well, then we all know we start doing well with those teams, what that means. But like I think that there is a step between him and the Premier League, you don't want to make that jump again. That's just too much. He made the same mistake once. He doesn't want to make it again,
Yeah,
by
that could
taking too
be
much too soon.
career threatening if he did that again and failed somewhere big, right? All right. Last question. Give us a name. Give us someone who you think the American soccer public should keep their eye on. A young talent coming up, a nice young American who we think is going to have a big impact in the next couple of years and maybe potentially be a starter at 2026 World Cup. But right now he's kind of under the radar, playing somewhere in the world, could be here in the MLS. Who do you think, who have you got on your radar that most people should know about?
I got Caleb Wiley. I think surprisingly, there continues to be a number of good American left backs coming up. John Tolkien in MLS and Jonathan Gomez just moved, Jacob Green at DC United. These are all teenagers, and they're all good. I think Tolkien will be the star at the Olympics, but Caleb Wiley, I really like. I know he's been playing at the wing. They moved up wing because they have a left back that they do like, but and Andrew Gutman. But I think Caleb Wiley is a guy who I think is going to get called up soon for this U.S. friendly against Mexico. Anthony Hudson kind of hinted at that, but I think he's going to be a player that could be a breakout player at the U20 World Cup. Athletic, he checks the physical box as well. I think he can effortlessly handle the physical side of the game. I like him. He's not outsized and outgunned. He plays for Atlanta United. So I think he's a guy who's going places. I think he's a good part of a good U.S. U20 team that I hope they get all their players that they want for the U20 World Cup. It could be very good. But Caleb Wiley, I think, is a good place to start right now because he's a lock-in starter for Atlanta. And Thiago Almada, he plays with him.
Mm-hmm.
The combination that those two have had. I mean, this is an Argentine World Cup champion that he plays with. Uh, he benefits obviously playing around a player like that, but he doesn't got a place either. So it's really something to see when guys starts to go up. And I'll give you one other too, Aiden Morris for Columbus Crew. I think he's going to be a very good defensive midfielder, a guy who there's not on the U.S. national team a good depth behind Tyler Adams. And
Mm-hmm.
coming up in the summer where we don't know if Tyler Adams will be healthy or not, I know he's battling an injury. They're going to need to be tested at that number 6 position. So Aiden Morris is a guy who could be given a run out for there, and I think he'll probably be the defensive midfielder for the U.S. Olympic team next year in Paris.
I like it. Actually, I love it. Those are two great names for everybody to keep their eye on. Listen, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure. The insight you can provide and the knowledge you've shared with us is crazy. Guys, do me a favor, follow Brian on Twitter. Some of the stuff he puts out there is absolutely phenomenal. You can find Brian Sciaretta on American Soccer Now and Soccer America. He's also on SiriusXM FC, giving his thoughts there occasionally. So go ahead and give him a follow. And when he talks, listen, trust me, it's gold. Brian, thank you so much for joining us on We Are Soccer.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. Until next time. Cheers.